one of my biggest core beliefs is respect. I think I should respect people and people should respect me. And over my life, I've had different variations of this where I used to get very put out if people didn't just give me respect. I felt that everyone should just start with respect and then work from there. And I realized that working with a lot of different people and some of the masters that I interacted with, that a lot of people thought that they had to demand respect. And that's kind of the way I was at the start, because like I used to train with bare knuckle fighters and really aggressive people, a lot of doormen, a lot of people that just really loved violence. So they demanded respect. You would go in and you would just have to respect that person. But obviously that's not the case. Respect is earned. So rather than trying to demand it, you want to command respect. And you command respect by your presence, your voice, the way you show up to everything. So Alan Watts talked about your authentic power. So I've just wrote here that it's about being unapologetically yourself. When you're unapologetically yourself, you're not trying to showcase, you're not wearing a mask. You're not trying to showcase someone who is something that they're actually not, and you're not trying to get people to like you. People will either like you or not based on who you are as an actual person. So most people will chase respect. They will go looking for respect. And I actually remember whenever I worked in a bar called Bar 10 doesn't exist anymore. Sometimes when I tell these stories, I think I'm so old because a lot of places do not exist anymore. But Bar 10, there was a guy who was quite an aggressive person. He was barred from all of the pubs. And he came in and he was quite polite when he came in and he said to me, look, if you give me one beer, I'll drink the beer and then I'll leave. And there was nobody else in the bar. So I thought, it's going to be easier to give that man a beer and let him leave than to deal with telling me he can't have a beer. And he sat down, he was having his beer, he was waiting quiet. And my boss came in, walked past, went upstairs and rang down to the guy, down to me, and told me I had to get that guy out. So the guy finished his beer and I said to him, look, you're not allowed anymore, you have to go. And he was going to leave anyway, I think, but he got very aggressive, shouting and roaring, and it was actually hilarious because he was shouting and roaring and being super aggressive whilst also walking backwards. And I think the walking backwards was because I wasn't being reactive. He was shouting and roaring and getting very angry, and I trying my best not to laugh. But he left. But later that night, I met him in a different pub. The Hog's Head also doesn't exist, and he offered to fight me. I actually agreed to fight him. I had no intention or want to fight, but it seemed like it was just going that way. And I remember there was a lot of us there, but once he got very aggressive and shouty, a lot of the people around me sort of scattered and disappeared, which was nice. But I agreed to fight him, and I remember saying to him, right, if you want to fight, let's go outside. At least that way you're barred from everywhere else. You're not barred from here, and you'll not get barred. So he asked me then, did I actually want to fight him? Do you think you want to fight me? And I was like, no, I don't, you big giant bastard. He looked like Dolph Lundgren from Rocky 4. It's probably why I wanted to fight him, because it's one of my favorite movies. Well, I didn't want to fight him, but I would have fought him. But I said, no, I don't want to fight you. You're a big giant bastard and you're going to kill me. But at least if we go outside, the both of us can come back in after and it'll be fine. And I think that earned a bit of his respect and his weird mind. If this, it earned a wee bit of respect because he then said, tell me to calm down. We'll just calm the situation, and he actually left. And then funny, he got in a fight about 10 minutes later and pulled a machete. So good job I didn't go outside with that man. I met him the next day and he started to talk to me about respect. Met him the next day and he was like, you showed me no respect. And for some reason that was my wee trigger, and I was like, well, fuck you, you didn't show me any respect either. You're giving me grief at my work, giving me shit in front of all my friends. Like, where was my respect? And we went back and forth for a wee bit and then agreed to start afresh. So he was someone that demanded it. I was someone that kind of demanded it as well, but not as aggressively, just from the lifestyle that I lived over in London whenever I was teaching Kung Fu. So when Alan Watts talks about being all unapologetically yourself, whenever you do that, you have more of a Taoist approach to it. You stop forcing things and you just stand in your truth and who you are and what you believe, and then people will either resonate with that or get pushed away from that. And for me, the people that resonate with it are your people. They're the people you want to be around, and the people that get pushed away are the people that you don't really want to be around with it. So start to think about that for yourself. Do you think you demand respect, command respect, or have zero respect. Either one you can then build on. Again, we're back to awareness. If you have the awareness of which one of those three you're in, then you can actually do something about like commanding it. I think obviously commanding is the main, I was going to say I think, but it's very obvious that commanding respect from your presence is better than demanding it, and it's better than having zero respect at all. So start to think about that in your life. What way do you live your life? Are you true in your convictions that you can stand up against everyone? Like fight your battle, fight your case whenever you have something that you're passionate about, or do you just let people walk over you by having zero respect, or do you shove your ideology down their throat so that they have to go with that as well, and then try to get to the middle one, try to get to the command by being authentically you. So one of the ways of doing this, I'm going to talk about three different people here. So Alan Watts first, you should look him up, great. And then Chris Voss. So I'm going to talk about tactical empathy. And Chris Voss was an FBI hostage negotiator. He wrote a book called Never Split the Difference, which is a great book for anyone. I used to think it was a great book for coaches, but it's a great book for anyone that interacts with anyone. And one of the lines here is, it seems like, this is one of the ways he would try to make the conversation less confrontational. So if you were saying something to me like, this really annoyed me and it did this and this and you showed no respect and then you didn't get the job done and then blah, 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 blah. If I say to you, well, I did get the job done, and I start to argue, and the reasons I didn't get it done on time was because of this, this, and this, then we get into a confrontation and a bit of an argument. Whereas if you say, it seems like at the start, I'm not putting any words in your mouth, I'm saying, it seems like to me that this really offended you, that I didn't get the job done on time. The reason I didn't get the job done on time was X, Y, and Z. So see the way it's a much less confrontational way, and it means just every interaction that you have with people is going to be, you're going to come across like you understand their perspective a lot more than most people they communicate with and talk with. And when you understand someone's perspective, or you're showing understanding of the perspective, they can either correct you on it or continue the conversation. You're not going to be butting heads anymore. So you don't need to prove that you're the alpha in the conversation. Like, you want to be a man who listens, observes, and then commands conversations with strategic silence. So if I'm silent whilst you're coming back to me on whatever it is that the problem is, and then I stall, and then I say, it seems like, and I go into my point, I'm giving you the respect and an understanding and time, and I'm listening, but I'm also going to get my point across a lot more clearly, because you'll not be in defensive mode, you'll be in listening mode. So there's the first two things. Think about your being unapologetically yourself. What does that mean? Who are you and what are you aiming for? And then practice tactical empathy. Really look up Chris Voss, because like his stuff's really good. And then Ryan Michler's 4 Pillars of Masculinity. So he's a podcast host. I really enjoy his podcast, The Order of Man. And he's got 4 key traits for a man who's worthy of respect. So this is back to commanding rather than demanding. So self-sufficiency, you take responsibility for your life, your body, your mind, and you don't blame others. I remember being at a talk or a networking event, and there was a guy talking about being a mindset coach for boxers, young boxers. And he talked about how he teaches them to believe in themselves, and they can achieve whatever they want in life, no matter what it is, and all the things that a mindset coach would do. But he was at least, I would say, 5 to 7 stone overweight and smoked, and he was quite vulgar when we talked as well. And I remember thinking, I didn't just think it, I ended up asking. I used to be very much an asker. And I asked, how does it work when he doesn't look after himself, when he's telling them that they can be and do whatever they want, and he's choosing to be and do someone that's out of shape, that's overweight, like clinically obese, and that smokes? Like, how does that... I don't think you should follow someone who doesn't live the traits that they live. Like, one of the reasons I started this podcast is because everything I talk about, I do to the best of my ability. We're back to the last podcast, or the one before it actually, about the 4 agreements, or the last one, I can't remember, one of them. It's why I don't cut it. This is the conversation that we would have. Obviously, you'd be able to talk back to me, but if you're following someone that's super out of shape and they're trying to get you in shape, it's not. I don't think it sinks on a subconscious level. Part of you will start to bring in excuses and start to question your ability based on, well, if they can't even do it for themselves, how are they going to do it for me? So I actually ended up asking that guy that question, which did not go down well. And I remember leaving the networking event thinking, that's one of the reasons why I continue to do what I do. I want people to have a coach, a mentor, a leader that actually leads from the front and doesn't sit back and say, well, whenever I was 20, I used to do X, Y, and Z, and I don't now. Yes, my training's different from when I was 20. I'm 40 now. Not that I look it. It's because of my skincare night routine for another podcast. I don't go as hard as I did then, but I still train for my end goal of longevity, optimal health for as long as possible. So the first one is self-sufficiency, second one is courage. So you face challenges directly, never avoiding discomfort. The more you face the challenge, the more courage you're going to get. I was just at my I was at my niece's play, and they did a thing of the Wizard of Oz, and that's just what popped into my head. So the cowardly lion, the more he was a wee coward and put him and wanted to fight people, but he was actually afraid. And then the more he did, the more, like, it's a really quick story, but the more he did, the more courage he got. And that's what happens. The more you face your challenges directly, you realize, they're not as bad, and I am more powerful than I actually led myself to believe, which happens through social media and the way that we're taught to be men these days. So courage will come from facing challenges directly. Discipline, we did a whole podcast on this. Discipline is you master your emotions, actions, and habits. So discipline is just doing the thing you said you would do when you said you would do it. It's as simple as that. And then presence. So presence comes back to the tactical empathy as well. You're being present with you're not trying to shrink or dampen your light for other people. You want to be present, be open, be yourself the entire time. So those are the four, so they're Ryan's four key traits that make a man worthy of respect: self-sufficiency, courage, discipline, and presence. So here's a practical exercise that I'm going to end this episode on: the silent presence challenge. So this is basically train yourself to be silent and let your presence create the vibe that people either come to or move away from. So if I ever go out, which I never do anymore, I used to always get accused of being very standoffish, or people would think I was working there, I was a doorman or something. And I like that. That was my plan. I never drank, so I didn't want to be around drunk people, so I stood in a way and gave off a vibe of leave me alone. It was ironic that the only time it didn't work was when people approached me to tell me I was standoffish, and I would say, like, if I'm so standoffish, why are you here talking to me? Would you move on, leave me to myself? So I want you to go into a social setting, whatever it is, coffee shop, party, friend's house, whatever it is, and just hold the space without feeling the need to fill the silence or seek approval. Just be present. Stand up tall, keep your chest not like an old washing machine hard man. Just sit, stand tall, be present, pay attention, listen to the way that people are speaking. Practice your mirroring whenever they're moving, like mirror their movements, and try to create a connection without like verbally jamming words in there just that you think you need to do. So that's your challenge for this week. And then again, reach out to me. Let me know how these challenges are going if you're doing them. You can comment below, or you can just private message me on Instagram, YouTube, or probably, I don't even know, maybe Spotify. I haven't actually looked if you can do that. So those are the 3 points that I wanted to get across today. So the idea is that you want to work out what way respect works for you, and then try to just command it by being the powerful man that I know you can be, and that you actually know you can be as well. Remember, you're not trying to turn into somebody, you're just trying to remember who you are, and then let that version of you shine out. So thanks again. If you have any questions, you want to reach out to me, just please reach out. I'm open to anything. If you want me to do a podcast on anything in particular, then let me know that as well. And just keep on the warrior's path. The more you do this, the stronger you'll feel, and the more things you'll attract to your life that actually elevate it.